Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 26 of the Showbound podcast presented by Axel Watches. I'm your host, Michael Raskin, here alongside Ethan Cardwell. Cards, what's going on, man?
Not much, bro. I actually was grinding some school before this. We were on a little bit late. I was probably 10 minutes late for Rask, but yeah, no, I've been grinding school because I did this online course. So I was given 6 months to finish, and I'm coming up on my last month here. I think it ends in May. So it's going to be a grind for me to hammer this course out. So I've been actually bearing down on my schoolwork a bit.
Wow, look at that, dude.
hmm
Good
Yeah.
for you, Cards.
Yeah,
I'm
I
proud.
got two of them too, so I've been pretty busy actually.
Wow. Well, I'm actually starting school again, bro. My master's in May 6th. I got a full course load, so I'm gonna be on the grind. So
That's brutal. I feel bad for you.
I know, but there's no summer anyway in Ontario, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, legit at this point.
um, okay, we got a big episode this week. We got two guests. First, we got Ryan Suzuki. You guys know who he is. We had him on before. Just a little bit of a catch up with him because there's been a lot going on lately with him. He's playing for the Chicago Wolves in the AHL. And we got Marty Williamson, he's my mentor, someone I've worked with for years. He's the acting general manager of the Barrie Colts and the head coach of the Brock University Badgers men's hockey team. A lot of insight on the OHL with him. Very good interview, cool stories, and an inside look from a coach's perspective, which we haven't had yet on the Showbound podcast. So that's something I'm excited. Cardsy and I are both excited to bring to you guys. But Cards, funny one I just want to bring up before we kind of get it going into the interviews. I know we talked about it before, but our boy Artur Seelovs, I told a funny story about him on the pod a couple weeks ago, but he got a call up for the Vancouver Canucks last night. He was backing up. He's a backup goalie for them. And they spelt his name wrong on his jersey. I don't know if he noticed. I was actually going to ask him about it today. I know he knows now, but they spelt it Silvos instead of Seelovs. Like, you see that?
Yeah, I kept seeing the Vancouver like journalist or something. A guy there was always tweeting about it. Silvos. That's a soak, man. You go in for your first show game, you feel like the man, and then they botch your name, and you just got a complete wrong name on the back of your jersey. But I mean, I don't even know if Artie would even notice that. He's always pretty like out of it, so I feel like that wouldn't even bother him, or he wouldn't even have seen it. But and then another thing I wanted to mention quickly was about this episode was if you haven't heard Ryan Suzuki's first episode, I know we don't talk a ton about the his career and stuff in this one and how he came to where he is today. So if you want to check that one out, it's episode 3 on the pod if you haven't heard that one before. So that's always an option after you listen to this one.
Yeah, no, episode 3 was a good one. That was the one that, for listeners who don't know, that was the episode that kind of blew us up, I think. We told some funny stories on there. He mentions about going to his first NHL preseason game with only one stick and it broke in warmups, and suddenly
Mm-hmm.
like TSN was posting it. And remember, Cards, we were third on the charts after our third episode in Canada. Like, that was a wild one. With
Yeah, that
his,
was that one, and we had the Q thing got posted. And I think Q might be playing this weekend.
I saw he's up with the
Shows
Kings. Little
off.
showbound, a lot of showbound bumps lately. Ryan McLeod got his first NHL game. We just had him on a few weeks ago. Like, I don't know. It's looking good for the guests of showbound. So
Yeah,
maybe
exactly. And I mean,
doing something right.
it's just adding. I mean, we'll probably have a lot of these guys back on at some point, just again to talk about like once they're established in the show, kind of just then rekindle the interview and kind of get back into it. But no, it's been great, and the guys are having a lot of success, which is really good to see.
Exactly. And we'll send it over to Ryan Suzuki. But before we do, I just want to mention that support for the Showbound podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped just released their new cologne scent to help you feel good and smell good all over and at all times. Who knew smelling this good could feel this good too? Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below the waist grooming needs. And just a little shout out for Manscaped. They actually just sent me and Cardsy some new stuff. We're not allowed to talk about it yet, but within the coming weeks, we are going to be, bringing that to you guys. So some exciting stuff coming out of Manscaped. And everyone knows that Manscaped does the perfect package 3.0 for all your below the waist grooming needs, but they didn't stop there. Complete your grooming game with the new refined cologne signature scent by Manscaped. With the same signature scent that's in all Manscaped formulas, this cologne is a perfect complement to the collection. Light, approachable, and gentlemanly in all the right ways. Think of it as your wingman for the night to keep you fresh and ready for anything. Calming and inviting, this signature scent introduces a light citrus burst before settling into the anchoring notes of vetiver and a woodsy masculine finish. This 50 milliliter spray cologne is even hypoallergenic, cruelty free, dye free, paraben free, and 100% vegan. This beautifully designed glass bottle makes a statement, and the manly scent is attractive to set the mood. Also, be sure to check out the Perfect Package 3.0 with all the essentials for your below the waist grooming needs, including the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer and crop formulations. Yes, I'm talking about ball deodorant and toner to keep your testes besties. And now you can use the new Manscaped Refined Cologne to complete your set and smell great anytime, anywhere. It's time to feel sexy. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOWBOUND at manscaped.com. Your balls and body will thank you. Once again, that's 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOWBOUND at manscaped.com. And now we'll send it over to Ryan Suzuki.
All right. And for the second time, we got former guest Ryan Suzuki on the pod. Welcome, Zooks.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, and we got a lot of catching up to do today. A lot has happened since we last had him on, and went to the World Juniors, now playing in the AHL with the Chicago Wolves. And yeah, we're going to talk about all that and a few bumps in the road that came about recently for Zooks as well. So I'll flip it over to you, Rask.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can get into it right away. You're just coming off of a COVID isolation. Do you want to just tell us how that was going for you and how you're like staying sane?
I mean, it's definitely not fun. A lot of video games, but luckily all my boys in Ontario know they're in lockdown right now, so I got a lot of teammates in the war zone right now. So I think they were just keeping me busy throughout the day, and obviously just catching up on some rest because the days get pretty long when you're out there practicing every day and working out. So it was definitely nice to get some rest, but I think for me, I was lucky I didn't have many symptoms, so it was a pretty easy ride.
Zook, do you stream ever on Twitch?
I have a buddy that streams, Brock Trickolo. He Dr. Jenkins on Twitch if you want to go follow him. But I play with him sometimes, and it's always fun just to kind of get in that lifestyle of streaming because he works hard for it, and his stream's growing a little bit, so it's good to see.
That's pretty funny. I was talking about this with someone else. He's like an agent, and he's talking about how all these players are getting into streaming and stuff. And man, it's pretty entertaining, like watching your favorite hockey player, whatever sport player, just getting to see that side of them. But I want to know, because I already commented on it before we started. So you got the COVID hair going right now. Okay, are you keeping it after now that you're out of isolation? What do you like? Are you keeping that?
I don't know. My mom doesn't like it, so I guess I'll let her deal with it when I get back. But I think for now, I think it looks good coming out of the bucket. So
okay, I was gonna say personally, Zook, right now I don't like it. Right, but I can see out of a helmet it would look way better.
Yeah, out of the new CCM helmet, it's second to none. So
I'll
ask. You got to sacrifice a little bit and have good on ice style.
No, that's what I mean. Like I bet it's rocking out of the bucket. But anyway, well, let's talk about the AHL. Speaking of that, so how's it going for you so far? Because last time we spoke, you hadn't played a game yet, and you're in Chicago for the listeners who don't know. So just what's that like, the adjustment and how you're finding it so far? And you're off to a good start with 10 points in 20 games.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just how heavy it is. You're going out there I went from the OHL and it's a bunch of, 16, 17-year-olds, maybe $160 and to grown men. And I think it was just crazy when I think it was my first game and it was against Rockford, and Cody Franz is just on the blue line. It's just guys you've watched growing up and, they're older now and he's still a big frame out there. And it was that was kind of just the welcome to pro hockey moment for me. But I think just the biggest thing is, you got to play a little heavier and you got to work a little harder for pucks in the corners. And but yeah, it's been fun. Our team's really good. We're number one in our little division right now. So I think just having a team like that, we collided with Nashville, so we have all Nashville's top prospects too, and we set up a really good team.
How's living on your own and stuff? How are you finding that instead of being with billets? You got to cook, do your laundry, all that. Do you have any roommates as well?
Yeah, I'm living with Dominic Bach.
Okay, how's it going for you guys?
I think we get groceries every week or every couple weeks, but that's all for show because we end up getting Uber Eats at night. And maybe I think the most I've made was a salad. So, but I think it's just you kind of take for granted like your billets in junior hockey when that's all gone. So, my room's a little messy right now, but hopefully I can get around to cleaning that.
Eventually, man. Eventually, you'll get used to it. I mean, it's like a trial run this year though with COVID and everything. You'll be set up and looking good for next year when you go back. But how many? You guys don't have long left in the season. What, 3 weeks maybe, and then no playoffs?
Yeah, I think 8 games left, 9 games left.
Yeah, and then back in Lundo for a big summer. But World Juniors, representing Team Canada. You represented it all the way up, U17, U18s, and then now U20. What was your experience like there, just being able to play on that stage and that?
Yeah, I think it's super cool. It's been a dream of mine ever since I started playing, and see my brother go through it. It was obviously a little different. He had 20,000 fans there in Vancouver, and we had none. So I think, but it was pretty crazy. Like, we were still getting all the attention like we normally would, maybe even more, just because everyone's stuck at home. So,
and there was no NHL hockey at the time too.
Yeah, so everyone was just fiending for hockey at that point. So I think it was just a crazy experience. Like, it was so weird, not having fans in the building, because that was like the first time I think any of us were really playing hockey other than the guys from the queue. But I think like going from like fans in the building to no fans was weird. And then, I mean, just recently we had fans in the AHL. So I think it was even weirder having fans back again. But I think the World Juniors is crazy. Like, I think just getting up every morning and, knowing that you're going to have millions of, people from your country watching you and family and all that, just supporting you is definitely a dream come true.
Yeah, and then we talked to Nui about it. We talked to Feds about it, just like stories of how you kind of found out you made the team. I know they were making the rounds. So you mind sharing with the listeners on how you kind of found out you made the team?
Yeah, so I didn't know till after, but I guess all the guys were getting FaceTime calls. But my dad doesn't have an iPhone, so it was just a phone call. So, but yeah, it was definitely special getting that phone call from my dad and him telling me I made it. But we were actually getting, like, the guys that made the team, they were getting emails
there it is,
like saying that, like, congratulations, welcome to the IIHF tournament. Like, pleased to announce you making the team. So it was pretty funny because we kind of already knew, but it wasn't really confirmed yet. So it was still nice to hear my dad give me that news.
Yeah.
Like, I'm laughing because when we had Fets on a few weeks ago, it was Fets, right, Cards? Who said that?
Fets faked it.
Yeah, okay, it was him. He was
Yeah.
like, when we asked him how he found out he made the team, he said that you had texted him before he got the FaceTime and all that, saying to check your email. So he was saying he found out from the email and he faked it when the camera crew and stuff came in on FaceTime because he already knew and he wasn't excited anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny that the same thing happened to you, but I guess it's not the same without the FaceTime or whatever. But that's pretty interesting. I guess that's the second time we've heard that story now.
Bo Byram, his mom was like, yeah, you made a team, and he was like, yeah, I know, I got an email 15 minutes ago saying it.
Yeah, it just absolutely ruins the surprise for the boys. But also we just kind of talking, and any funny stories or memories you kind of made in the bubble there, or just in the tournament itself?
I think like, it was kind of tough because you weren't really allowed to go out and hang out. We had like this one common room where we'd all hang out and stuff like that. But I think just like the one funny thing was we all got scooters for Christmas. We all got like these electric scooters.
Really?
And we had like a Christmas dinner and stuff like that for the boys, and no one knew what we were getting that year. And then we just see our GM come in just whipping around on an electric scooter, and it was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's actually sick. And wait, so like you guys didn't get to keep them after, did you?
Yeah, they sent them to our house as like a little gift.
That's unreal. That's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
sick.
sick.
Yeah.
I wish I lived closer to downtown because that would be a great tool to get around.
Yeah, honestly, just be whipping around in that thing.
All the college
Paul
guys must love that.
Yeah, that's elite.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, the World Juniors was crazy this year. Like you said, everyone was watching. It was like the only hockey going on, and everyone had been dying for more hockey. But just one more question about it, then I'll move on. But you kind of touched on it, how you felt the support and all that. But with no fans, um, how did it feel like in the building during games, during the play? Like, are you still feeling when you score, like, oh my god, like 20 million people just saw this, or is it kind of like, well, it's dead? Like, what do you feel like in that moment?
Like, I don't know. They did a really good job at, like, we had like fan noises and stuff, but I mean, it still doesn't make up for the lack of, people in the stands. But um, I think like that team, like we were all so close because we've come up together, and then obviously we had some other younger guys, but we were all pretty tight knit right away, and we knew that we had to build our own energy from the bench. So I think anytime there was a big hit or a block or anything like that, like even a big goal, the bench was always fired up, and you had to build your own energy, and I think that's a big reason why we were so successful.
No, that's interesting. It's always cool, I think, hearing how guys do it, because some people need that to get up for games, some don't. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. But I want to move forward, and the NHL trade deadline just passed. So I was wondering if you're a top prospect for Carolina, and they're on the hunt this season, looking good. Were you worried at all, or hearing anything if you might get moved, being a guy that could be like have some value?
I think you always see stuff on Twitter, but you can't really read into it too much because most of it's just like fan fiction almost. But no, I wasn't too worried. I've like since I've been here, they're happy with me, and I think they want to work with me some more. So, but yeah, I wasn't too worried because I know it's a business. Trades happen all the time. My brother got traded, and I think if you do get traded, the team that trades for you really wants you. So it's never really a bad thing. So, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that I got to stay in Carolina. So, but yeah, I think I wasn't really looking into it too much.
Yeah, I mean, the only person you can really trust on Twitter would be OHL insiders. Reliable. So if you see your name getting thrown around by him, it's legit.
Yeah, for real.
That guy's spot on, man. I don't know who's feeding him stuff, but have you been talking to Carolina at all about maybe like getting up, being a black ace or anything as your season ends? Is that a possibility?
I think it definitely is a possibility. They haven't really talked to me too much about it. I think they just want me to focus on, finishing up here, and I guess we'll see when that day comes. So, but yeah, I think it'd be really cool to go up there and train with the team and go on that big playoff run that they're camping out for.
It's so weird how Carolina's been on the hard upswing, and they're still, I mean, despite being in like first place, they're still barely talked about. I mean, maybe for you hear it more than we would over here, but it's actually crazy because it's been like 2 or 3 years now where they're actually right in the mix. But as far as being a prospect of a team, that might be one of the coolest teams to be in the organization right now, because they're on the up and up for sure. Like, what do you think about how Carolina's sort of changed? Because I don't know if you knew how they were before, but it was one of the lower kind of ranked organizations in the league, and they've really turned it around.
Yeah, I think, before I was drafted, like just because where I've lived, in London, we didn't really see much of, Carolina or those teams up there. So, but yeah, it's like, it was pretty crazy. Like once I got drafted, I started focusing on them more, and they started doing, all the stuff, after they win with the storm surge and stuff like that. It's all for the fans, and, they loved it, and they've been selling out ever since. So I think it's just smart, like business wise. The owner like created an atmosphere to draw fans in, and it's clearly worked, and everyone loves it. And, they're a young team, and everyone loves going to watch them, and I think they're definitely still underrated, but I think we're still coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Zook, I want to know, we talked about it, me and Cards, on an episode that you weren't on. I can't remember who it was with, but we were mentioning how you like to ball out and look stylish and look.
Yeah, who was that episode? Because we gave him so many name drops. It was absurd.
I sent it to Zook. Do you remember?
Jarv.
Oh,
Who?
Jarvie. Yeah, Jarvie.
Oh yeah, it was.
Man, like every 5 seconds we were bringing him up, the guitar and all that stuff too. Like, anyway, Have you made any purchases lately now that you're getting a consistent paycheck?
Um,
Some new
like
shoes?
yeah, shoes,
I
obviously.
knew it.
I don't know. I'm just a big shoe guy. I don't really spend much money off of that, but I like to, save it a little bit. And I bought a car my first year, so
The
Yeah.
Subi?
yeah, the Subi.
Yeah.
So I
Why?
have to watch my money. So, but yeah, I definitely purchase a lot of shoes for sure.
So the reason I ask is our partners at Gavin Hockey Wealth Specialists believe that your goals matter. After hundreds of early morning practices and countless hours on the ice or in the gym, you truly earned your success and you deserve to enjoy it. For over 20 years, the team at Gavin has assisted professional hockey players with setting goals and, more importantly, providing them with a game plan to achieve them. Whether it's a house, a car, a cottage, or even supporting your family, it is all within reach when you partner with a pro. And you can check them out at gavingroup.ca.
And then, yeah, I think we've talked about it enough here, but we'll give the fans what they want. Always our weekly fan questions. We had a bunch, just like usual. So the one that we have every week, stick spec, Zooks. What's stick and what's specs?
I was using Bauer, but the AHL sponsored by CCM, so I had to switch over. But I use the CCM Jet Speed FT3, I think FT3,
Yeah, probably.
and have a candy cane grip, which is different. I don't think a lot of guys use that, so that's how I stand out. But I use the P92, P90, and 80 flex.
Okay. How many mouth guards do you go through a year?
I don't use one. My
No.
dad will kill me because he's a dentist, but yeah, I don't
Oh.
use one.
When I saw that question, I wasn't sure if it was a joke or not. Like, I wasn't sure if you chew your mouth guard or do something like that.
But
Are
yeah,
mouth guards not mandatory
No.
but
in
at
the AM, like in pro hockey? I don't
no,
know.
at World Juniors they were, so I was not on that thing all tournament. But
That's probably what they were talking about then, just calling them out. Just
yeah, I went through two that tournament, so
Jeez.
I couldn't imagine the year.
That's absurd. What's a thing you always do before a game?
Definitely coffee. I'm a big coffee guy, so I'm just getting my caffeine in early, and I don't have too many rituals because I don't like to, stress myself out before a game. But yeah, just coffee and relax.
What part of your game has improved most since you first stepped into the O till now?
Um, I think just having like the confidence to hold on to pucks and make plays because early on I was kind of forcing the puck to older guys because I was a little intimidated by them. But I think halfway through that season I started finding really good chemistry with Chiodo and Magwood, and I had more confidence with the puck. And I think coming in as a younger guy, you gotta showcase what you can actually do and not just kind of be intimidated by older guys and try and like shy away from your game. So I think just having the confidence to make plays and help the team is the biggest thing for me.
Okay, I want to ask you a question that just kind of came to my mind, and I'm trying to like word it in my head. But so everyone always mentions it's the confidence, as you get older, go through years of being in the league or whatever that makes you a better player. You just learn from being more confident.
Yeah.
So let's say you step into the NHL, your first game or first couple of games. Naturally, you're kind of like, just don't make a mistake in your head. That's what you're thinking. Is something you want to tell yourself like,
Rask, you played a few NHL games to know?
yeah, I look at my stats, bro, point per game.
Yeah.
But no, for real, like, is something you're gonna tell yourself like, I'm here for a reason, like I'm gonna play my game, don't play nervous, like just play with the confidence. I know it's hard to build up the confidence not having played, but that mentality of I'm here for a reason can make a big difference. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, like I think Cardsy can probably relate to this. Like once you get up, like it's all in your head when you're just sitting there. Like once you get on the ice, it's just like second nature almost. Like I can't even describe like you're all worried about it, and then once you get out there, like you're just like you're just in it. You're just in the zone.
Yeah.
I think like you just kind of stress yourself out so much like on the bench or before the game. Like I think once you just gotta calm yourself down because like once you get out there, you're gonna do your thing. Like it's just all muscle memory once you step on the ice.
Yeah, the worst is like warm-ups too in your first game. Like warm-ups is supposed to be so much fun and everything. You get out there in your first game, you're shitting your pants and warm-up.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I think like it's just being like anxious to get out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all in your head. I think like mostly because you're definitely right. Like you're there for a reason. Like they wouldn't put you in an NHL game or an OHL game if you weren't ready. So
yeah,
I think you just gotta believe in yourself, and once you step foot out there, like it's second nature.
Yeah, and it's definitely easier said than done though. But not that I would know cards. But anyway, I don't know if you have anything for this one, but what's the weirdest thing you've ever signed?
I don't know. Maybe like this baby is wearing like a little helmet, and I signed his helmet, but that was kind of cute. Like it wasn't really weird.
I thought you were gonna say the baby.
No, I wouldn't sign a baby, but that would be funny.
Okay, and this one. So we got Marty Williamson, the Barry Colts acting GM, coming on later on in this episode, and we asked him the same thing. The same fan asked both these questions, but which team won the Suzuki Cardwell trade?
I don't know. I don't know. You get a personality like Cardsy and Barry and kind of turn that whole organization around. So I don't know. I call it even. We'll call it an even split.
I like that. I back that 100%. I mean, who knows what Zooks could have done if they were in the playoffs. So for sure.
Yeah.
They were set up for a deep run. But yeah, the personality check in Barry. We could have used Zook still there when I came. Just been dynamic there with Forey too. Just have the boys getting a little rowdy, but hey, happened for a reason. We are where we are today. So
yeah. Well, I mean that's it for the fan questions, but Zook, because last time we had you on, we weren't as established, I guess, as we are now. So for you coming on now, we're gonna send you a beautiful Axel watch. I got mine right here. We're gonna send. You can take a pic. We'll send you one of those, and you'll be looking sweet. Your brother has one, actually, right?
I have one. It's just in Saginaw right now. We met him at this golf tournament a couple years ago. And, yeah, he's a great guy.
Now you're gonna get another. Yeah.
So yeah, you'll be
add it to the collection.
One for both wrists. Guy will walk around double.
Double Axel.
We'll get him an Axel watch for every pair of shoes he has.
Okay, yeah, I like that matching. So we'll have to get him like 700 pairs.
Yeah, a couple hundred.
Axel watch. But and for the fans who want to buy an Axel watch, use the code AX_Showbound at checkout for 15 Rask, 15% off. So Axel watches, everyone go check them out. But from me, I think that pretty much does it. You, Rask?
Yeah, man, Zook, it's always fun catching up with you. I'm just excited for you to finally make the NHL. It'd be nasty. So just
too,
don't forget about Showbound when you make it. We'll get you back on. So
for sure. No, I'll be back.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on, man. It's good catching up, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, thanks to Zook for that. Awesome catching up with him. Happy said he's not gonna forget about us when he makes the show. Like a guy who's gonna, I think, be a staple on the Showbound podcast. So excited for him and happy he's having a good year. What do you think of that one, Cards?
Yeah, man, just happy he's doing well, and with COVID there, just coming out of that. So it's a little bit of an interesting topic there to hear about that. But now he's playing well, and yeah, definitely, like you said, he's going to be a good player in the show. So a good contact for the podcast to have there, definitely for years to come. But I think with that being said, we'll send it over to our next interview. We have Marty Williamson.
All right, I want to welcome Barry Colts acting general manager and head coach of the Brock University men's hockey team, Marty Williamson, to the pod. Marty, how's it going?
It's going well. Going great, guys.
Good to have you on. So, I mean, we got a lot to talk about, both with Barry and with Brock. But one thing everyone kind of wants to know is, like, with the OHL season just being canceled, how close was the league to actually getting started and playing?
Well, as far as my gut feeling is that we were unbelievably close. It was, I can't remember the dates specifically, but it's about a week and a half ago that, we had the conversation and we were like 12 hours away from it going. And then all of a sudden, when Ford wanted to make the announcement, the government put everything on hold. And, we didn't know if it was going to be a couple days. And then when it turned into a week plus, things, got ugly then because the shutdown got extended and the window of opportunity just seemed to go away. But, I was, it was kind of a roller coaster going back and forth on it. And, we were pretty excited. We were talking to the trainers there in Barrie about, getting equipment ready and sticks ready and all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden it just went sideways.
Yeah, that's tough. What was the plan? It was Hub Cities, right?
That's what they had told us. They never really kind of went into the details with us on it, but Hub Cities is what everybody anticipated. 17 teams, not the 3 U.S. teams, but we didn't. I mean, that was kind of the fun of the whole thing. We were kind of trying to guess which hub we might be in and where we might be going, and that was when it was exciting there for 12 hours. It went away pretty quick.
Yeah. So it was a small kind of window of opportunity there for the O, but unfortunately, as we all know, it got canceled now. But so Marty, you being back in Barrie as the acting GM now and former coach of the Colts from 2004 to 2010. So kind of, you want to just tell the listeners like how you kind of got back into Barrie and how things unfolded there?
Yeah, the plain and simple was that Dale Howardchuk reached out to me, and he wanted me to kind of come on board. And I'd been a longtime fan of Dale, and obviously I knew Howie and the organization and that. But when Dale kind of reached out to me on a phone call saying that we want to win a championship in Barrie, and we think you'd be an asset if you could kind of help an advisor type role, I was all for it. And you talk about turnarounds, obviously, a huge turnaround for Barrie when we lost Dale, and Sed's had, just unbelievable, I can't fathom the time frame from him and I on a golf course, having a great time and drinking beer, and and then he got word that he got cancer, and then a year later he's gone. It was so that's kind of the steps of how I got back. Really, he reached out, how he kind of at the same time was reaching out, and we thought it was a good fit there to try and put a team together. We thought we were on the upswing, and we had a chance to win a championship. So that's still the goal, but unfortunately we don't have Dale with us anymore.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us into our next thing. We're just kind of going to ask about your relationship with Dale and kind of the impact he had on you, not only in hockey, but like just in life.
Well, the first thing, and I know I've heard so many people say it, is just what a nice guy he was. Like, he was a great guy. There's a lot of competition that goes on in the benches, and him and I had never been on a bench together. We'd always been against each other. And, our last series against each other was a big series where we came out on top in Niagara. But, always a class act. Always, I always wanted to get to know him better because I was amazed at some of the things his teams did offensively, and it was like, how do you teach that? Like, I mean, these backdoor passes and the extra plays that Barrie was always made with LeBanc and Mangiapane and Scheif and so many good players that were there. And Dale did such a wonderful job with them. And, so that's kind of one of the reasons when he reached out, I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm on board here. And, and he's the type of guy that always looked at me going, boy, your teams are so sound defensively and they're disciplined. And, I think he wanted to pick my brain a little bit. We really connected. And, that's kind of where it happened. And obviously a ton of respect for his career, a Hall of Famer. But boy, when you're on a golf course with a guy, or we were at meetings or whatever, you never knew this guy was a Hall of Famer. He was just a fun guy, always a smile on his face, always looking for, a joke or, where we can have a laugh together. So, just a big, big loss. It's I got to pinch myself to kind of like how it all happened. It just seems like a blur, that coming back. And I was so excited to work with Dale. And then, then he gets sick, and we brought in Reichs, and we had Miller there, and, good people. But it was always the plan that Dale was coming back, and, that just never happened. And, I was one of those guys that got that final phone call from him, telling us that he was going to be leaving in a couple of days. And, again, he's talking to me about my son going, your kid's a good player. Tell him he's got to do this and he's got to do that. And, not even, worried about his sickness. Again, the call was kind of you just don't, I've never had a call like that. So you don't always know what to say, but he just made it so easy. He didn't even make it awkward for me. He made it so easy for me. So he's a great guy. We really miss him.
Yeah, and I know all the players were kind of excited. We, when it was looking good for him there, we were excited to get him back behind the bench. And, we had a good team there. So looking forward to the years ahead, but unfortunately that couldn't have happened. But the time I spent with him, super down to earth guy, really nice. And like you said, just just a real great guy in all. But we were talking about it before this the call started, in the OHL draft now with no season happening. We were kind of just wondering, and there was a lot of fan questions about this one. Just curious on what can you tell us about how the OHL draft might unfold this year?
Well, we actually have a meeting in a couple hours to kind of go over it with us. So I'm guessing a little bit, but my gut feel is that it's going to be a lottery type. I don't think there's anything else they can do. We're going to hear in the meeting in a couple hours, but whether it's going to be weighted at all. But my feeling is it's going to be strictly a lottery, and we'll see who gets lucky. Is the big joke is that it'll probably be London winning the lottery. So they seem to have all the luck in our league, but it'll be strictly, throw a ball in the hat, and whoever gets their name pulled out gets first pick. So, I guess I'll find out in a couple hours, but I think that's the only way to do it. There's no other way to do it. Yeah,
you never know. There could be 20 London names in that hat, and they'll be picking first overall. But no, and then with no minor hockey seasons either this year, it's been kind of tough. And I know you do a little bit of scouting along with our scouting staff there in Barrie. So what kind of how's the scouting process been this year, and how are you guys identifying kids for the draft?
Well, we were lucky, I think, in Barrie that we got Rob and a few of our scouts out early to see all the games that were being played, or kind of 4-on-4 and different things that was being played. So we got a bit of a grip on it that way. Right now we're just getting inundated with kids sending emails to us and showing us at practice and stuff like that. And boy, it's hard to evaluate. It's going to be an interesting draft. I think everybody's going to have a pretty good grip on the top guys, but I think the people that have done their homework might get the steals, from rounds, 4 to 10, that kind of stuff, that if you've done your homework and talked to the right people, that you might be able to get yourself a really good hockey player in there. The top players, I think everybody kind of knows them. There'll be difference of opinion whether a kid should be 5 or 14, that kind of stuff. That'll be a preference of an organization, but I think it's an even playing field. The teams that did their work are going to, have some options. If you didn't do your work, then you're going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit, but that's life,
Yeah, and definitely we always see steals in the draft every year. And we had one there for you. Barrie picked him up in the 3rd round, now first rounder to the NHL, former guest of the podcast. So a little bump for Forey, but then kind of just in the off season too, that goes along with the drafting and stuff. But what other aspects of just getting ready for now next season, as the OHL wants to start on time, hopefully in August, going to camp and everything. So what do you have to do or get done this off season to have everything prepared for next season?
Well, I think that's the exciting part, Cards. I think that's, obviously we're disappointed by what's happened, but we have to move on from it. And then the next part is next year. And, we're fully expecting the league is that it's going to be a start on time. So, it's, obviously we lose a couple players in Barrie with overage players, and with Big Z and Hatfield. So, there's, our team's not hit quite as much as others, but we'll have a few more overagers, next year that we got to kind of sort out between Greavesy and Hill and Allenson, and then Porco and Tabac up front. So, there is going to be a change to everybody's team. I really think we're one of the teams that probably stays the most consistent. Other teams have 7 and 8, 19-year-olds that they've got to reduce, and that are turning into 20. So, so it's a matter of getting that together, getting the whole organization, worked out as far as coaching, all the coaches and, the management team, get that all worked out in the summer. And, we'll get some Zoom calls with the guys like we've been doing, and keep that going. We're hoping that they allow us to do developmental camps earlier and those kind of things, but that's all going to kind of come out, after the draft. I think that's the priority for the league right now, is to get the draft done. And then the next step will be, kind of all the regulations that will be allowed. Can we come into camp a little bit early? You guys have been off, you were lucky you went to Europe a little bit and played some, but a lot of guys have been off for, a whole, almost kind of 2 years or a year and a half type thing. So now, again, you guys are all getting ice and all that, but as it's not the same as competition. And, so we're hoping maybe training camps can be a little bit longer this year, but those are things that are all kind of get worked out down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully, maybe there could even be a possibility of an extended preseason by a few games. I think would be nice, just to get get everyone going, especially because some of the rookies coming in like probably haven't played in longer than the OHL guys returning. But I want to kind of take it back to your time in Niagara, Marty, where for the listeners, I met Marty back then when he was coaching in Niagara, coach and GM from 2010 to 2016. And Cards, I don't know if you know this, but I've known Marty now, like we've been working alongside for going into our 7th year together now. So we've been able to get tight, and like I've been able to learn a lot from Marty. But I remember the big one in Niagara was the OHL championship run in your final season there. So can you just tell us about that run? You had a sick team, guys like Josh Hosang, Brendan Perlini, Vince Dunn, Alex Nedeljkovic, who's lighting it up in Carolina now. Like, what was that season like for you in that run?
Kind of a great finish. Well, we lost in the finals, so not a great finish, but a great playoff run. The season was up and down. It wasn't as consistent. Actually, the big trade at the trade deadline where we brought in Josh Wesley and Ned's. I think it was one. Harper brought Harper into. We brought a kid in at a Guelph. Can't think of his name right now. But they really kind of changed
Tyler
our
Boston,
dressing
right?
room. Yes, Tyler Boston. Yep, exactly. They really kind of changed our dressing room. That and a lot of credit to Ned's. That they became a better voice, and guys maybe like Josh Hosang became less of a voice in our dressing room, and that was a good thing for us. Josh played really well during the playoffs, but he's a maintenance guy, and I don't think I've ever had a player hug me so much in my life and asking me if I'm okay. And I said, "Yeah, Josh, I'm fine. Just pay attention, buddy, and stay in line here." And so he's an interesting guy, but he really, he played fantastic, through the playoffs. Everybody talked about, the Krauses and, everybody that Kingston had, Kingston and Barry and this kind of stuff. But our guys really showed up, and led by Neds. I really think he was the backbone of our team, and good goaltending. That's why that final against Barry with Blackwood and him, and both guys are in the NHL now. It's kind of cool to see those things, but it was a good year. It's almost. I mean, again, we had another one earlier. My second year, we went to the finals too, and both times lost to London. So that's it's a bee in my bonnet that it's always those guys. Heck of a team. When you lose to Marner and Tkachuk, and and then the other year it was a different group of guys, but high end players, and great series. And I remember talking to Hunts, and he said, in the one series, if we switch the goalies, you guys probably win. I think we outplayed them every game, but we just had a little bit of trouble with keeping the puck out of our net.
So going back to Hosang, I heard, can't remember, maybe you can verify this. I heard he would have like 2 hot dogs before every game. He'd be getting the concessions people to open up early for him. Is that true?
Oh yeah. And the amazing part was how he did it on the road. How he'd go into these buildings and get these people to open up for him. And Josh was, I kind of came to an agreement with him that I'd leave him over some things if he'd leave, would do things for me. Like he needed to get his shift lengths was just, puke when he first showed up with us. He'd be out there for 2 minutes and I'd be pulling my hair out, and, so if I got him to buy into some things, I'd leave him alone on some other things. And the hot dogs were one thing that I kind of just left him alone. That was his pregame ritual. And I remember asking him one time when he was going there, I said, "What are you going to do when you go to the Islanders?" And you can't do these kind of things. They're going to look at you. And I said, get into places on time. He said, "Well, I'm going to hire a guy." He says he'll get me everywhere on time. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to hire a guy to get you somewhere on time and wake you up and get you out of bed. And so he was a unique guy. And as I said, I found him sweet at times. He was a lot of I don't call many of my hockey players sweet, and he was kind of that way, but an unbelievable talent. Like, I mean, you could not give him a bad pass. Like, he could pick up the puck and do. And as I said, a ton of credit goes to him too in that playoff run. How well and how gritty he played for us. That's what people don't know about Josh a little bit, was how gritty he was. Like, he took a lot of punishment out there, and he never gave it back. He was kind of a soft player that way, but he took a lot. So I had to appreciate that from him, how hard he played for us.
No, definitely. I remember watching him on that run. He was like doing spinnoramas up through the middle of the ice and walking people, making them look silly. Yeah. It was cool to watch. But I want to go back earlier in your Niagara Ice Dog career. This one was hilarious. There's a big popular YouTube video. I told you I was going to bring it up, but you had one of these insane freakouts on the bench. Like, for context, and you can explain it more, but I think like Brendan Perlini, your star player, I think was getting hit pretty hard. There was a couple bad calls in a row, and all of a sudden you're on the bench throwing sticks or something like that. Like, can you just tell us about what was going on there?
It was actually Stromer, and
Okay.
he got kind of sucker punched, and they put both of them in the box. And so I brought the guy over, and I'm like, how the hell does my guy end up in the box here and that? And he said he deserved it. And that's what kind of set me off. It's, why do you deserve to get punched in the face? Now, Stromer was kind of a talker, and, he was probably yapping pretty good. And, so, it was one of those kind of things. But that's what set me off. And it just kind of exploded from there and just kept going and going. So it's funny. About a year later, I was down in Mexico with a buddy of mine, and we were at one of these outdoor in Cancun outdoor bars and that, and we were drinking tequila and beer, and I'd gone off to the washroom, and I came back, and my buddy got the Mexican bartender on his iPad to put up Marty Williamson goes crazy or something. So I come back to the bar, and they're all watching it on the video type thing. And the Mexican guy was laughing because he was telling us how tough soccer was, and we were trying to explain hockey to him. And so then he sees me going nuts as a coach. And anyways, I guess I got some free tequila out of him for watching the video on that. So kind of a crazy night, but it cost me a 5-game suspension, so that wasn't that great.
Oh man. I got another one, like, speaking of suspensions, and because I want to kind of parlay this into Brock hockey, but Brock hockey player and former captain at Brock and former Sudbury Wolves captain Brody Silk. So what was the story where I think he also was attacking Stromer or something, and then didn't you get him suspended for like 10 games or something? And then it came back. I remember talking at Brock, he was complaining about it, and you're like, yeah, that was me who got you suspended.
Yeah, it's Stromer again got sucker punched in that one, and I went nuts on the league because the league was really cracking down on if you didn't want to fight. If two guys didn't want to fight, then you can't just keep going at a guy. And Silky hit him with a good one, actually cracked his jaw. And so we phoned the league on Silky and said, my guy's out for, like a month with a cracked jaw. You're telling me that's nothing or whatever. So they ended up giving Silky 12 games. And it really wasn't that bad of a thing that Silky did. It really wasn't. I mean, again, it's not great breaking a guy's jaw, but I mean, Stromer was kind of fighting. His gloves were off and he was kind of participating. And but we sold it pretty good to the league. So I remember, I didn't know Silky at the time, but their management was pretty upset with us that we ended up following through with it. And we were arch rivals kind of at the time. Sudbury and Niagara had some good battles going and big comeback games and a lot of stuff going on. So, and then it's kind of funny when you end up, with the guy. Stromer and I have had a lot of history together because Stromer was in Barrie. He was a Barrie first round pick. And my final year, we traded Stromer for Peter Angelo, and to get the stud defenseman. And all of a sudden, the next year, I find myself in Niagara, and I've got Stromer as one of my players again. And him and I have had a lot of interactions, back and forth, and the time. And I still keep in touch with him. He's doing fantastic in New York there, and he's a great kid.
That's funny. That's a good story too. And kind of before I take it into Brock, actually, that just kind of got me on the topic. So I want to know, do you have like a best and a worst trade that sticks out in your mind from your OHL career?
We made a lot of different trades. The Pither Cameron trade really put us over the top in Barrie, and we brought both those guys in, and that was a huge trade for us. And we went to the league final against Windsor that year, and a phenomenal year. I think we only lost 7 games. We made that trade in the summertime, and they really just changed our whole team. So that was a really good trade. And actually the same year, and I can't remember his name, we traded for the captain of Guelph, and it was for future rights to Clifford, and Clifford ended up making the NHL, so the trade didn't happen. I'm trying to think of his name, but he was a great kid. The problem was he just didn't fit into a role, and he was unhappy with us. And when you got unhappy players, it struggles. And we thought he was going to be the perfect fit, penalty killer, but then he wanted to play power play, and we already had guys like Pither and Cameron and different setups already, so he wasn't going to get that. So that year was kind of the best and the worst, right there. I'm trying to think. Niagara, obviously Ned's was a fantastic trade. And I didn't know he was that good. Mike Vellucci phoned me and he said, Marty, trust me. And when we made that trade, because I was iffy on it, and his numbers kind of weren't like the best numbers in the world. It wasn't like a save percentage, and his goals against was like phenomenal. But when you got to know him, and he just competes so hard, and it's always about that next. If he lets three in, he'll work so hard not to let the fourth in, and do everything for the guys and that kind of stuff. That, I got to say he's right up there too with a good trade for us, because it really did change our team, and allowed us to get to the finals.
So let's talk about Brock quickly, and then we can keep it moving forward. But like I mentioned before, you're the head coach of Brock men's hockey. I just want to know, and kind of for the listeners, how do you find the level of U Sports coaching it? Like, how is it high level? How do you compare it to the O, that sort of thing?
Well, they're older than the guys in the O, so you've got an age range from 20 to 24, compared to the O, which you're more 16 to 20. So obviously what happens in the university level, the real high-end guys go, because they go pro. And then you get the next group of guys, and they're usually the character guys, and, a lot of real good, hard-working guys. So the hockey is fantastic. I wasn't sure when I first went there if I was going to like it or not. I'd been in the O for, 12 years and loved the OHL, and remember stepping on the ice for my first practice, and I had Brian Little, and I was just blown away by, how hard he worked and how good he was. And I was kind of like the real first star I had on my team. And, so, I knew I wasn't going to get that at university so much, so I was wasn't sure, but my God, I just loved it, when I got there at Brock, and, how hard working that first group of guys, we weren't very pretty, but, a hard working group, and we found our way all the way to nationals, and, guys like Silky and that, and they just wanted some leadership and just wanted to play hard. And, what a fun first year I had. And every year has been great. Every year Logan Thompson comes in, Jordan Sambrook, we've had great players, Wally's there, there's so many good guys that, we've had real good success with getting some guys out of that BC league, and, with Mac, and, that group out there, Bergie. And so, Pacheco, who's over in Europe playing, and the similar thing, and, in Cards and all, but, for me at this point, it's about helping these guys go forward. And some guys want to go to Europe, and some guys still just want to play competitive hockey for 4 years. They don't want to play men's league yet and stuff like that. They want to play hard competitive hockey, and U Sports gives you that. It's a really good league, and I've enjoyed my time. Brock's been fantastic to me, and obviously with the new rink being built on campus, that's pretty exciting for Brock going forward. And this was a tough year, but again, they come to practice, and you got guys like Marino and that, and they're working their tails off in practice. And we knew we had no games, but they're still out there working. So good group of guys, and it's a very underrated league. I know. I think it was last year U of T played the Brampton Beast or something and beat them. So, I don't think we're far off an East Coast, pro type level. The top teams like UNB and stuff like that. There's some good teams, and we're seeing more and more guys sign contracts. And, for us, we look at a Logan Thompson and how proud we are of him. And he got his first game with Vegas this year. And, here's a guy that, came to university, wasn't sure where it was going, but just kept playing hard, and set a school record for us in wins and net there. And so it's a great league. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, I think it was UNB beat Manitoba Moose, the AHL team, in the preseason 2 years ago. So it's just like some schools are crazy, but just you touched on that point. First, you're going to the national championship, and I have a funny story that comes off in Cards. You'll get a kick out of this. So you said it, Marty. They didn't have an identity, the team, and we were called the Misfits. Remember that? Everyone called us the Misfits.
Yeah.
We go to the national championship in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Almost all the team's luggage didn't show up, including mine. So first night we're there, there's like the banquet, the award ceremony for the national awards, and no one has their suits because it's all like lost in the luggage. So some guys had like extra suits and stuff. So people were mixing and matching. Like you got guys with different jackets, different pants, different shoes, all this stuff just to try to look somewhat presentable. And then next thing you know, so we're, as if it wasn't bad enough, every team has like a nice coach bus, take them from the hotel to the awards ceremony. And I don't know what happened with ours, but they sent us a city bus. So we're walking off the city bus to the awards banquet with mismatched suits, like the worst team to make it to that national championship out of all of them. And just further the Misfits like the story even more. It was so funny.
That's unreal. That's good.
It was kind of fitting almost to everything that kind of lined up for us. I remember I had extra pairs of shoes and dress shoes, and guys were wearing them, and they were like 3 sizes too big for them. And but that group of guys, we persevered through everything. I think we lost, or we only won 1 out of our first 8 games, and our season was looking like a nightmare. And we ended up finishing in 5th, I think it was, and and then knocked everybody off. We just beat everybody and found ourselves going to nationals. And I think we scored 1 goal in overtime that was about 9 feet offside, and just things seemed to roll our way. Poor Guelph took that one, and
it was the icing.
Then we came back and beat them.
It was the icing call.
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh,
and then I think Tipper tripped the guy behind the net, ended up getting the puck, and it was just like a comedy of errors. But it just suited us. But those guys, Sammy Banga and that whole group of guys there. That's as fun as a year I've really had. Really, that was a fun year. When you get any group of guys that want to work that hard, and just try and do something, that's what it's all about. You look at Barrie next year, that's the goal for them. You look at Brock and for us next year and that kind of stuff. That's, when you can get guys to buy in and just work for each other. And that's what that team was all about. That was for each other. It wasn't for parents in the stands or anything like that. That was just a bunch of brothers kind of going to battle every night and finding a way.
Mm-hmm. So I remember in that national championship, after we lost in the dressing room, I want to, you talk about how the team had sort of a lack of identity and needed leadership before. But I also find maybe you were in the same position heading into that season where you were maybe done in the OHL. You didn't know if you wanted to coach or GM. You had offers. And I remember you in the dressing room saying, you fell in love with coaching all over again that year. Can you talk about how that went for you?
They really did. It was when we came to that point where we had such a terrible start and we were playing bad hockey, and they were a lot like the team that I had seen the year before. And I asked them, I said to the guys, I said, either we're going to buy in and we're going to play together, or else I'm just going to, worry about recruiting a whole different team next year. And everything just kind of changed. Guys like Michi and guys like that, they all started pulling the same rope, and that's what was fun. That's what coaching's all about, trying to get 22 guys, going direction. And it's not always going to be a perfect world. There's going to be, hiccups along the way in that. But, when you get that, it really is something special. It's fun. I remember sitting on buses for rides home after games and, just so proud of our guys. And that's what, for a coach, that's where the fun comes out, when you can be, so proud of your team because they just battled hard for each other. And it just put me in a whole different energy spot as far as, where I wanted to keep coaching and keep going, and, and that passion, and it's continued with, with Brock and that. This year was a tough year and not being able to do anything. My wife is ready to kick me right to the street.
Unreal. So I got one more Brock question, then I'll keep it moving with Cardsy here, but the Steel Blade Classic, for listeners who don't know, it's like the homecoming game at Brock, 5,000 fans, all just drunk students going crazy, singing throughout the game during the play. Marty, can you talk about coaching in that atmosphere? It's nothing like anyone has ever experienced.
It really isn't, because I've been on the same bench with the Ice Dogs in playoffs, and it's loud, but it's an older crowd, and that kind of stuff. And they get, they cheer at the end of the game. But when you bring the students in, they cheer start to finish. And the funniest thing is that the one year we were playing a close game, and I can't think which year it was, but it's obviously against Guelph and that. But at the end of the game, the fans are gone. They've been there right until, and I was like, what's up with that? And they had to get to the bars to get in line because they didn't want to wait that long. So the place just kind of emptied out with about 4 minutes left in the game because they were all racing to the bars. And, but what a fun game. The tailgate we had out front, and, and a lot of them really aren't hockey fans to some extent. A lot of them are they're Brock, students and Brock fans, and they know which team's which, but that was about it. And, the one game that we had a few fights in, the crowd was just going nuts. I thought they were going to bring that building down. So it is a fun game. It's the only game where I haven't been able to talk to my players. Like you have to scream in their ear for them to hear you. Like it's like, sometimes I'm barking about things that are going on the ice. So there was no sense doing that because they couldn't hear a thing. It was just such a loud. My mom and dad came to the game and they couldn't believe it. It wasn't the most fun game, I don't think, for them. I think they preferred the ice dog games where everybody kind of sat down and wasn't too drunk compared to this crowd where everybody's hammered and having lots of fun. So, but a great atmosphere, and it really is a staple, I think, for the whole U Sports that Brock has this game that really is better than anybody else's game. That Steel Blade game is just a phenomenal game.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a bit of an NCAA environment there. I know me and Rask, we've had those conversations and compared the OHL crowd and to a NCAA crowd, and that's a little bit of a taste of that for the U Sports guys there.
Yeah.
No, I know we got a bunch of fan questions and we've been going long here, but we just want to talk about getting into coaching. How exactly did you find your way into the coaching world, and was it something you wanted to pursue all along?
No, not really. I was over in Europe playing, and I was in England actually, and they fired our coach, and they came to me about being player coach for the rest of the year. And I was like, okay. And it was like the first time I learned kind of how to get guys to do things. And they played this stupid British Bulldog game over there, and they used to tackle the imports. Like they used to just maul us. And I hated the game with a passion, because you'd be last to go and then you'd have 18 Brits jumping on you. And, they thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And, I could barely breathe at the bottom of the pile. But so I learned that I would play the game at the end if they would do certain drills for me and do them properly and hard and that kind of stuff. And that's when it first kind of hit on me that I enjoyed it. And then the funny thing is I come back home and a buddy of mine asked me to be an assistant coach for a midget team. And I said, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And he went away. And just before he'd gone away in the last game, he put, I don't know if he forged it, but he put a wrong name down and did something kind of illegal. So they suspended him for 1 year. So the organization again came to me and said, you're the assistant coach. Would you mind being the head coach? And that's how it all kind of started. And then I went to Caledon as an assistant coach with them. And then my first job was with the Cobourg Cougars. And at that point, I knew I loved it. I loved hockey. So I didn't know what I was going to be. I needed hockey to extend for me. And I was lucky. I was, I think, 27, when hockey finished playing in Europe. And I really didn't know if I could do much else, and that kind of stuff. I was thinking about getting into the police force. I was looking at different things and stuff like that. And, and then coaching opportunities came up for me and I jumped at them and I took every course. I went to Roger Nielsen's courses, every course. I loved drills and learning drills and, and I was lucky I had some friends that were pros and made their way to the NHL, so I could pick their brains on their coaches and stuff like that. And it just kind of blossomed for me. And, the pinnacles with the Aurora Tigers, and we won the Royal Bank Championship with no team in Ontario. I think it won like in 20 years or something like that. And we took a team out there from the Aurora team, and then that parlayed into Barrie. Barrie hired me the year later, and it became a dream. To be a full-time hockey coach was kind of a dream job for me, and it's gone kind of full circle. It's I've really enjoyed it and been very fortunate. The people that I've met along the way that have helped me, Greg Kerrigan and guys like that, and the people up in Barrie, Mike McCann, that used to be the old GM. I think he still lives in Barrie, and he's probably 90 some odd years now. And but just a great guy, tons of wisdom, and the whole passion for me was I love the game. I love playing the game. I love the dressing room, the banter. I'm a guy that likes to have fun. I play hard. I played that way, and when the puck drops, but I had no issues after games drinking beers with guys and having tons of fun and with the other team or whatever. But during the game, and I'm pretty passionate, and as we saw in that 5-game suspension I took and stuff like that, it's after the game, to me, the game's done, then it's about learning, and it's about having fun and just getting ready for the next game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of neat how I kind of just came full circle there, kind of landed in your lap actually, and then years later kind of cemented yourself as a coach GM kind of around Ontario. So
okay, so before we wrap it up, just got a couple fan questions for you. We actually got a lot. I was surprised and I had to narrow it down to just a few of the good ones. Some of them were so weird, but The first one that a lot of people want to know is you went to York, right, Marty? Is that right?
Yep.
So they want to know, what did you
Yep.
study there?
I had a major in geography and a minor in business. It was
Okay.
I went there to play. I went there to play hockey, and we won a national championship in my first year. 18 rookies, and
Wow.
Dave Chambers, who'll kind of be one of my favorite coaches. He'll go down as a guy that I learned a lot. You know, when I look back on it, at the time, you never kind of know, but there's things that he did that I continue to do that I always thought was, you know, really neat. Dave Chambers, it was an amazing year. We were kind of a mid-pack team, and then we had a trip to Switzerland, and we came back from Switzerland and didn't lose a game. Won right to the national championship and beat the Alberta Golden Bears 3-2 in the final.
There you
Wow.
go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unreal.
All right.
Pretty
Next
cool.
one. When you're drafting, what kind of things go through your head?
You know, I love competitive people. You know, I love guys that don't give up. You know, that old thing about, you know, watching games right to the end, even if it's 7-1, the guys that continue to play hard, or, you know, maybe show a little edge, or just hate losing. You know, that's, I mean, obviously the skills got to be there, and, you know, different things with skating and that. But for me, it's, you know, when I talk to the coaches and talk to that, you know, competitive people, I think, are winners. And, you know, that's one of the things that it's always, you know, when I start hearing that he's inconsistent or he doesn't show up and stuff like that, it's, I like guys that play hard every night.
Yeah.
Rask, Marty was actually telling me when he looks at players, he just tries to find anyone who plays any sort of like me, just replicate the game after me, and they're good to go.
That's it, Cards. That's it.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question, which is off-ice attributes. How much of that do you factor in, like their leadership, or what you hear about them when it comes to trading or signing, like their attitude and leadership? How much does that do you take into consideration?
Well, it's different, Ed, because when you draft these young guys, you don't really expect them to come in and be leaders right off the bat. It's hard in the OHL, you know, there's a pecking order and that kind of stuff. But, you know, how they carry themselves, you know, is, you know, again, I got very fortunate to watch a Brian Little right off the bat, you know, and, you know, he's a guy that just, you know, just did his job, kept his mouth shut. You know, BJ Crombie was our captain at that time in Barrie, and Beaner was the voice in the dressing room, and you never heard Brian say a word. And, you know, but what, you know, he led by example, and then he morphed himself into a really good leader for us, and being a captain with the Barrie Colts. And, you know, and, you know, and, you know, being a leader is just about caring. It's about caring about the rest of your teammates and caring about whatever details are important to that organization. And, you know, I think that goes into life skills. So it's hard sometimes when you're watching minor midget hockey to know if a kid's going to be a good leader or not. But, you know, if they do well in school and they're, you know, they're good things are said about them, then they've got the, you know, the groundwork of that coming ahead for them.
Yeah. And we asked this one of the players, it just kind of popped in my head, but as a coach or a GM, do you have any game day superstitions or pregame rituals you do?
I like to have a nap. I like to have a nap in the afternoon. That was one of them. Not too many. You know, I mess around with my suits, and if a suit's on a winning streak and that kind of thing, you know, I am superstitious in certain ways. I kind of say I'm not, but I am, you know, and if a tie's winning or if a suit's winning and that kind of stuff, then I keep that in the back of my mind. And, you know, so it's just silly stuff like that.
Yeah, we all had that going at Brock with Cardsy. Me and Cardsy were all rocking the same suits while we were winning. I love that one. Couple goalies asked this. What do you look for when you're drafting a goalie or like trading for a goalie?
Well, I never professed myself to be a goalie guy. You know, as I said, you know, with Neds and that kind of stuff, it's, you know, it's the ones that battle. You know, again, body language means an awful lot to me. I hate when goalies show up players in front of them. You know, and it's the same thing. I mean, if a goalie let a bad goal in, I'd be ripping a player if I saw them banging their stick or smashing their stick off the boards and that kind of stuff. So, you know, body language is, you know, a big thing. But, you know, I think I'm a pretty easy coach on goalies, because I always give them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying their best in there, you know, and that. So we had one in Niagara that drove me nuts a little bit. Mo there, and, he was always worried. He was always worried about the shot count. I mean, we'd be down 2-0 in a period. He'd come into me and be telling me that they missed 3 shots for him up there, and it would drive me nuts a little bit. But other than that, I think I'm pretty easy on goalies. But, you know, I mean, you know, I'm not a they talk about, I know there's NHL teams that won't draft a goalie if he's not 6'4" or above, that kind of stuff. They want size and that. I'm not a believer in that. You look at Ned's and how well he's doing with Carolina, and everybody said he wasn't big enough, and he's a 6-footer, 5'11", 6 feet. And, he just competes in there and he's smart. He reads the game very well. So he's ahead of the game. That's where Ned's is underrated, or maybe he's not underrated, but he reads the game so well that he's positionally square to everything.
I mean, and you look at like Mikey DiPietro, who lit up the OHL. He's not the biggest. So guys like that.
Nope.
Two more. These ones are about Cardsy, but who won the Suzuki Cardwell trade?
You better watch who you stay here, Marty. You better watch.
Well, I made it. So I'm all with you, Cards. It's okay. We got you for one more year for sure, and Suzuki's gone, so we're pretty happy with the deal. And we were happy from day one. Cards was want to go back in the trade a little bit. They did not want to put Cards in that deal, and it was kind of the make or break. I was not going to trade them. I was going to go in a different direction with a different team, and until they put Cards in it. And Dave Drinkle finally came back to me, and he always played poker early, and I don't think he thought I was serious, but we were serious. We wanted Ethan, and that was kind of the make or break in the whole trade. And when it finally happened, we kind of worked everything else. So I'm hoping his head doesn't get too big me talking about him, but it's good to have him as a Barrie Colt, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, my head might not fit through the door now. I'm walk out here.
All right, last one. There was a couple that asked this. When is Cards getting the C?
Yeah. Until you don't know your team until you know them. We learn about every guy and have conversations with them and learn about our hockey team. That's when Barrie will go forward picking a seat. So sorry, okay, Cards,
so
I can't
another
give
month,
it to you
Cards.
right now.
Yeah, no, I just got to keep putting in the work, Rask. One day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all for me, Cards. You got anything to say before we wrap it up?
No, I think that we've kind of touched on everything, and just really appreciate you coming on the pod here, Marty. It's kind of like the first kind of coach GM we've had on, just kind of give the listeners an insight on that. So I think that'll be pretty cool, and they'll really enjoy that.
You guys are a lot of fun. Usually interviews are pretty boring for me, but this has been a lot of fun. So you guys are doing a great job, and thank you so much for having me on.
All right, and thanks to Marty for that. Good to catch up with him. I know we were talking. He was running my phone call the other day when the league shut down. But now it sounds like he's pretty optimistic about next season starting on time for the OHL. And it's pretty cool to get some insight from a coach's standpoint and a GM where we haven't really had that. We've only had players on here before. What do you think?
Yeah, I love Marty. He was telling me, since you mentioned the Zoom call thing, that you were just clowning up the Barrie Colt Zoom call, talking about the pod, getting the boys fired up. So that's funny. I mean, you're always pushing it. So you got to love that. But no, it was a good interview. I mean, I think the listeners are going to enjoy that side of it. And if you want to check out the clip, I'm going to make a clip of his coach freak out. The one we brought up, like that thing is insane for the listeners who haven't seen the video. Like check out the Instagram, the Twitter. We're going to post that. And it is like a legendary freak out. So it's really funny. But no, just a pleasure to have him on. Like Marty's an awesome guy.
Yeah, I was laughing when Marty said I was making some jokes in the call. I was just ripping a few boys about their quarantine hair and stuff. I mean, I'm fortunate enough. Mine's not looking too bad lately. Got it cut before we went into this lockdown. But
actually, we got an inside look at, I think for the first time on the podcast, you without a hat on for a bit during these interviews. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did.
Yeah, I know. I blow dried my hair during the interviews yesterday. So I figured I'd take the hat off, and maybe if we had a clip, kind of show off the locks a bit.
It's looking good, man.
Yeah, no, like I can't complain right now. So I mean, I felt like I'd take the opportunity to chirp a few of the other guys who maybe haven't had the luxury of a haircut lately.
Better than Zook's hair for sure.
No, but I bet it looks good out of the Bucky. So I mean, to each his own with Zook's hair there. But with that being said, I think that pretty much does it for this episode. If you're still here, I know it's been a long one, so thanks for sticking around. And we definitely got a good interview next week from a guy who's real hard worker. So a lot of good insight coming there. Just a guy who likes to eat post, just an all-around animal. So stay tuned for that one, and enjoy your week.